One of the standout collaborations in recent times at the Nike brand is with the Sacai collaboration, and it's been absolutely huge. It's great for me here in Tokyo, Japan, because Sacai is a Japanese brand, and there are two major shoes that are really pushing it, and that's the Blazer mids, and here's a picture of one of those guys right here. I used to have those in hand, but they were a shoe that was too small for me, and just having a too small shoe hanging around the place didn't make sense, so shipped that off to a great store here in Tokyo, Japan called Worm, a great place to do your buying and selling of resale sneakers. But those Blazer mids didn't stick around with me. I had to get them and shift them on. But that's one of the major Sacai shoes out there. And another one of the major Sacai shoes is this today, the Waffles, which, to be honest, I think have actually gone past the Blazers. The Blazers were the big thing for a while, but the Waffles are absolutely massive. And I've seen them on feet a lot more than I saw the Blazers, so I think there's many more people getting their hands on them. And recently they actually did double tie-ups. There was the Sacai, it was undercover, I think it was, tie-up, and that kind of takes me to today's shoe, which is all about the NIKE Waffle, being a collaboration with Sacai, but tying it also up with Clot. And when I saw they were tying it up with Clot, I was like, absolutely doing a video about that, because it goes way back to when we first started doing daily content of the channel. This is day 1001. Yesterday we celebrated 1,000 consecutive days on YouTube, and one of the first videos I ever made in that streak of 1,000 days on YouTube was a Clot shoe, and so it really kind of makes sense to me to be able to come here and as we kind of push through that milestone of 1,000 consecutive days, we can talk about a Clot sneaker. But it's not just a Clot sneaker, which is sort of a big collaboration from like the 18 months ago period. But it's also a Sacai collaboration, which is a big sneaker right now, a big collaboration right now. So that's kind of a really neat sort of tie-up for me personally at the channel. And I thought, you know what I'll do with this is, you know, they're Waffles. People probably know a lot about them and much about Sacai, maybe a little about Clot. But I thought what I'd do is I'd sort of take you through the history of the Clot sneakers, so you can see where Clot sort of comes together with Sacai to make this collaboration, and then we'll get into what the shoe looks like itself. So first things first, we need to break it down with Clot sneakers to the earth tones and the non-earth tones. So when we say non-earth tones, what I mean is sneakers like these right here. I'm going to start off with two pairs of Air Force Ones that are, again, Clot tie-ups with the Nike. One's a sort of deep blue and one's a sort of pink, a rose pink or something like that. And then beside that, we can put my all-time favorite Clot shoe, which is the Air Jordan 1 mids, and you'll be able to see that here as well. But the thing that ties those three shoes together, one is that they're not earth tones at all. One was blue, one was sort of off pink, and the other one's basically white. And the other thing is that they had removable uppers to reveal a second layer below on all three of those shoes. So that was kind of a signature feature with Clot, tying up with Nike for a while. But then recently they've kind of moved across, and we get into shoes like this right here. Now this is the 13, and it's that 13 that I looked at in 2018 and sort of my very first Clot collaboration shoe for the channel. You can see those earth tones in there, and the big story behind that shoe is all about the terracotta army, and the sort of feel to it is about ceramics, and especially in China and Korea, for example, ceramics and clay work are really big traditionally, massive, sort of thousands of years of heritage in that. And this shoe here, the 13, with those earth tones, is all about clay and all about ceramics. And then a much more recent shoe was the 14 lows that came out, and you can see very similar in its sort of base tone again. And then we come into today's shoe, but before we come into today's shoe, we continue that earth tones line with a shoe that looks almost identical to today's shoe, and that's the Air Max 1s. These were a huge Clot shoe. I was absolutely amazed by them because of that toe box, because if you really zoom in, if you don't know this, you can see that the panel on the toe box is actually completely transparent, and you can look right through it into your foot underneath. But more important than that is the sort of clay-y earth tones on there, and then the red and the orange, because then when we come to today's shoe, you can see that the colorway and the sort of color blocking very much matches the style of those Air Max 90s, and that gives you an idea of the sort of progression. It was the 13s way back, which were very much earth tones, and then a period of those strip away the top upper and reveal a second upper below, and then back into the earth tones with the 14 lows, and then the Air Max 90s, and then today we get it with the waffle. But the waffles are tying out with Sacai for the first time as well. So that's kind of where this shoe fits in with the history of Clot and Nike kind of coming together, especially when you look at it from those earth tones side of things. But then there are particular details on the shoe that are well worth looking at, and there's also the fact that it's a September the 11th drop date here in Tokyo, Japan. And this is something we talk about at the channel quite a lot, because one of the things I'm interested in doing is trying to find out if the drop dates in Japan are earlier than the drop dates elsewhere, and then maybe people will be able to grab shoes through me a bit earlier than they could in their local markets. So if this doesn't have a September 11th drop date where you guys are, definitely let me know. And also let me know if this picture right here, which shows a grey blue variant alongside the earth tones variant, is actually accurate, because on the sneakers app here, September the 11th shows the earth tones waffle Sacai Clot mashup, but it doesn't show this blue and grey variant. So definitely let me know if that's happening in your neck of the woods and there's going to be a double drop or not. Like I say, just here in Japan, it's just the one pair on the sneakers app for now. Now let's have a look at some of the details on the shoe. First thing to do, I think we'll go in and have a look at the swooshes, because on the most recent pair of shoes that we did, which was the Sacai Undercover Waffle collaboration, I think I'm right in saying the swooshes on the side were double white. Ooh, iPad just fell off. Were double white, which is rare, because usually what they do at the Sacai brand is they have two different colours, and you can see that here where you've got the two different colours and you've got the two different textures. I think it's the outside one in orange, which is in a more sort of snake skin texture, which is a huge detail on the shoe as far as the materials goes, but also with the way that the contrast between the two different swooshes go on these guys. And that's the signature of the Sacai line, is doing these double elements on the shoe. Speaking of double elements, double branding on this shoe has really come to the fore, more so than I've seen with other double collaborations. What we're talking about is, if we go up and have a look at the tongues, yes, it's a double tongue, which is a signature feature of the Sacai collaboration, but B, if you really look closely, you can see the way that the Sacai and the Clot branding work together. Sacai branding is sort of stretched out, thin font writing S-A-C-A-I. But the Clot branding is like this little, it's almost like a little disc or a little circle that if you actually look close at it, you can see there's a C, an L, an O and a T sort of made together in the design on there. But it's neat the way they put those two collaboration brandings together on the tongues there. And then if you go back from that onto the insoles, and actually you can see a picture of the insoles out like this and get a much better view of it. And again, you see that Sacai branding and the Nike branding and the big lettering, but then that tiny little dot of Clot branding on there as well. And I love the double sort of branding that goes with those double tongues and those double swooshes. And the final place you see that is if you go around to the heel and have a look on the heel, you'll see exactly the same thing. You've got that branding going on there, but the extra Clot to go alongside the Sacai branding as well. And speaking of the heel, it's actually a good place to have a look at some of the texture that's going on here, and you'll see a bit of roughed up suede in there, but you get a view of that suede alongside the quality of the materials that goes in the swooshes. And then if we flip it out and go to the the toe side of things, you'll see the toe box looks a much more man-made material, and something maybe nylon in there. It's not translucent like those Air Max 90s were translucent, but still a man-made material in there. So the last thing to do when it comes to waffles is to have a look at the signature of the shoe. And that you do by looking at the outsole, because that's where the name waffles come from, because the tread on these guys looks like it was made in a waffle machine. And I think I'm right in saying back in the day the very first ones actually were made in waffle machines or something like that, and that's where the prototypes started off from, and that's where the name of the shoe comes from, the waffles, because of that outsole on there. And I think that's pretty much it. That ties it up, wraps up the shoe, gives you all the little details on there, gives you a bit of history in terms of where Clot comes into play, especially when you've got that non-earth tones versus earth tones scenario going on there, and then tying it in with Sacai as well, giving you a double collaboration on one of the biggest shoes of the last 12 months. The waffles have been huge. and they continue to be huge as I'm making this video. So there you go, day 1001, churning out the content. One of the reasons I made sure to make a video today was if I miscalculated. And actually today is day 1000 instead of yesterday. I think yesterday was day 1000, but I thought, you know, I'd just make sure I'll push it to 101 just to be absolutely sure that I've hit that 1000 consecutive days mark. And maybe like time zones, for example, YouTube wouldn't recognize the 1000 consecutive days because of in their time zone I actually stopped at 999, you know, so that's why I pushed it through to do one more. But I think tomorrow is going to be the first day off for 1001 days, so something for me to look forward to. For now though, time to wrap this one up and just finish the video. So it's got to find a way to end the videos. I used to say you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow, but I'm going to stop the daily content, so I can't say that anymore, but I will find something to say, and I haven't yet thought of it. So for now, I'll just thank you for checking out the content, and I'll say that I love it when people are hitting me up with likes and comments and stuff like that, and look forward to seeing you real soon.